choices made by humanity. To share one's gifts may well be the most surprising route to happiness and success. Gifts given and gifts received, each requiring a unique perspective to an opening where we find the opportunity of wonder. We bring you now on a journey with those who have discovered how to unlock the power of their unopened gifts.
One man with vision and the mere determination to get started can change the world, the lives of thousands of people, and in turn, himself. I'd like to help you understand how to implement the type of gifts you have in your life, the ones you see similarly presented here in this program, so that you too can not only change the world, but put a dent in the universe. Hello, I'm James McPartland. You may call me Mac, most of my friends do. Now, I do work in the area of corporate culture, executive leadership. I speak on the topic, and I just have happened to write my first book, the same name of this program, Unopened Gifts. What I'm going to introduce you to today is a man with very special gifts, Steve Bilt. In this particular segment, we're going to talk about the gift of vision and getting started. Now, you'll travel with us now to Nicaragua. Well, Steve saw part of his dream come true. And that dream came true because he had the courage to reach inside and use that gift of vision, and the most important one, getting started.
Imagine volunteering to do something you think will make a difference in someone's life. Now imagine, while doing so, you realize your original intention was simply a doorway into a much larger opportunity. What started out as a single dental expedition to Paraguay developed into a multi-continent, ongoing foundation providing dental care to kids around the world. At the time of this filming in Nicaragua, Steve Bilt, then president and CEO of Smilebrands, and a group of volunteers from his company packed enough supplies and field dental equipment to provide dental care for close to 1,000 kids in the rainforest of Central America. Steve Bilt took some time to share of himself and how his teams have come to provide ongoing care in South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central America, sacrificing the comforts of modern dental offices and the cozy amenities of home. The teams have all learned that what they have given of themselves was simply overshadowed by the gifts they received in return. A strategic approach by a motivated few, with Steve Bilt at the helm asking his team to live and work outside the box and be all in. He shares with us how he gets people, including himself, to tap into their unopened gifts.
As I was beginning my career, or even starting to tap into what may have been the beginning of some sort of a gift that people would call vision, or that I might label as vision, the learning that I needed was to understand, at least for me, what vision really was. And I'd say early on I thought vision was probably the ability to see something in its final form and then go drive to that final form, and maybe to inspire people to drive towards that final form would be its partner, if you will. As I've evolved and the company's evolved and the foundation has grown, what I found as I think about defining vision is it's actually the gift of seeing how to get started and how to start something, much more so than how to envision or lay out exactly what it'll look like in the end. And the reason I think that's really important, both from an entrepreneurial perspective and from any kind of a leadership perspective in something like a foundation, is that the vision evolves, and the vision becomes so much more powerful when people are enlisted into it. And SEAL team trips and our business experiences show me the power of people and the power of their perspective and their spirit. So if I'm able to take what one might call vision and say, here's a vision for getting started with something, starting a business or going on our first expedition, if you will, to go try to deliver dental care. What that might have looked like in my head the day we first set foot towards Paraguay, what it looked like after 1 day in Paraguay, what it looked like after 2 days in Paraguay, and what it looks like now, 4 trips and 5 outposts later, is very different. And I really think that's the evolution that I'm starting to appreciate and now for myself call vision. Again, this idea of getting started and then continuing to grow and evolve by using other people's experiences, other people's passion, my own experience, my own energy to continue to reinvent what that end game looks like. And as you might expect, it gets bigger and more clear with every step. So I really do encourage people not to be stuck saying, to get started, I need a vision that has every perfect piece in place, right? That's not really what it looks like. What it looks like is something big that you want to at least step towards. Hopefully you know north from south in regards to it. But beyond that, take a step in that right direction and continue to evolve and assess and bring people along with you. And it will evolve by definition as you do that.
So the beautiful thing of the message that comes from Steve Bilt is something I've learned time and time again and see it in the work I do with other people. It's not important to get it perfect. It's important to get it going, to get started, to push forward. Further, what I hear from Steve is, life is a team sport. Enroll people along the way. Let them know where you're trying to get to and take advantage of their brain power and their experiences to help drive the initiative or the cause further forward. Also, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail often. And that's a good thing, because what you learn when you fail is what doesn't work, and then to pivot, to decide what direction to take based on the learnings. It's only failure if you stop. What it does is it tends to give you leverage and experience to move forward. And finally, this whole journey, much like Steve here in Nicaragua and in the game of life, it's a mountain. We set goals, we have objectives, we have things we want to achieve in our life, whether it's taking care of our children or starting a business. What's important is to keep moving forward, to keep climbing. You can't see things at base camp that you can see at 200 feet up the mountain. You have to keep climbing. Further, once you get up the mountain, the things you see are going to be amazing in terms of how it shifts the way you focus and the direction you take, because you can't see that at base camp. So you've got to keep moving forward. Don't get it perfect. Bring other people along. Don't be afraid to fall down. Get up and keep moving, because ultimately that vision will become reality.
You cannot do a kindness too soon, for you never know how soon it will be too late.
The way people run a business, or the way people think about vision, if you applied that to life, the vision of life would be, we're born and then we die, right? Because that is the beginning and the end. And when people think about vision, they think about, I have to define the end, right? And then as if there's not a journey along the way that's called life. And I think that's true of vision. The idea is to birth an idea. And a CEO or a leader really has one very unique capability in an organization, and that's the ability to make go decisions. Let's do this, right? That's what a CEO gets to do. That's the joy of the job. And then conversely, let's stop doing this because it's not working and do something differently, or let's adjust course a little bit. But you don't have to manage every bit of it, right? You have to experience it, be there, and as you experience it, make adjustments and incorporate the people with you into that process, and ideally let them be the one steering, if you will. But again, you go back to that metaphor of life, and you think about, when people think about vision, they often think about, okay, I need to know the end. Well, that's like saying for life, I just need to know I'm going to die. Well, we all know that, right? What we don't know is what the journey's going to be like, what enriches us. And the whole point is to experience it, right? Life's in the dash, as they say, right? So are you experiencing that journey? And to have a vision and then turn everyone loose to go execute it and then come back at the end and say, oh, look, it happened, would be incredibly unfulfilling. And so the point is to be along for the journey, to let people exercise their own spirit, passion to make it better, and continually be there to help both take in the whole experience. Because the other thing the CEO, the leader has that others don't, is perhaps the elevation to see the whole picture. To say, yep, you're right, what you're suggesting makes perfect sense in this moment, in this time, but it takes us a little bit in the wrong direction perhaps. What if we X, Y, Z, right? Or what if we do something slightly different? Oh yes, that gets to the spirit of what I'm trying to do, but moves us forward in the direction of the vision. But again, the vision to me always has to be, whether you want to call it a moving target or an evolving target. And if you think about it, the world keeps spinning, the world keeps moving. To think you could set up a vision 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 20 years into the future and know what the world's going to look like and the need is going to look like, whether it's a business need or a charitable need 20 years from now, that's just giving yourself way more credit than you probably would if you really thought about it.
You know, the beautiful thing about this segment we just saw at Steve, the dash, right? The life between birth and death is really, to me, the distinction between life in the stands versus on the court. Now think about it from the perspective of a tennis match. You're watching two world-class players, and you're in the stands. Now perhaps you understand the game really well. You understand foot strike, ball strike, or where the positioning is of each player on the court. Okay, but the difference between in the stands and on the court, when somebody's firing a tennis ball at you 120 miles an hour, is the dash, is life on the court, is where things really happen. It's like a child. I mean, how long would you give the average baby to learn how to walk? Probably until. And you don't learn to ride a bicycle from a book. You don't learn to drive a car from a book. You learn from the real-time experience. It's a bit like the America's Cup, right? Recently, when that was this amazing matchup in San Francisco. What do great sailors do? They take the feedback from the wind, from the conditions, and from the results from the final day, and they adjust accordingly. They adjust the sails. Living life in the dash towards the vision that Steve had for the foundation, the things he wants to do or has done in his life, was all about adjusting based on learning life on the court, moving forward, surrounding himself with great people, not having to be right, but to get it right along the way and live life in the dash. Of the many great gifts Steve has given us today, this concept of the dash is probably one of the most powerful ones. The unique thing about the dash is it represents life experiences. Now, having been on 3 of these SEAL team trips and along with the team there in Nicaragua, I can tell you those experiences were powerful. And one of the things to do with great, powerful experiences is to capture them. One of the things Steve will bring up in this particular segment is the importance of cataloging, of having a reference point of those positive experiences of both life and people to take along with you to keep that vision alive.
Right, when you think about leadership development, when you think about what we're talking about, the word is leadership, right? People didn't become leaders because they were bad at a whole bunch of things. They become leaders because they're good at a whole bunch of things. And in their finest moments, they're great at things. And so what we've, I hope, tapped into a little bit is when someone goes on an experience like this, they find themselves, I know I find myself, as my best self. I'm serving, I'm very careful about the experience other people are having, I'm very careful about team development, I'm very careful about who we're caring for, I'm very touched by people entrusting us to care for them. I'm very touched by support personnel in country stepping up and getting there 2 hours before us and staying an hour after us and setting up the entire trip and helping support us. I'm very touched that they think what we're doing and they believe what we're doing is important enough to do that. That's my best self, active. And the opportunity during that kind of a trip, in my mind, is to capture those elements of what's happening. How am I becoming that person? How am I stepping into that role? Because that also happens during my day-to-day life. But during my day-to-day life, it's hard to stop and catalog it. And quite frankly, no one can go on the journey alone. So it's hard to do that all by myself. So the opportunity to have a coach along, and we've had an incredible one named James McPartland who's volunteered his time on the last 3 trips to help do that. that has taken everyone who's been on a trip and enabled them to catalog with, quite frankly, expert help, catalog what's going on, because they do kind of scratch their head and say, wow, I really love the way I'm feeling on this. I love who's showing up. But it's not abundantly clear that you can actually freeze that and capture those elements and very consciously hold on to them. What I've also observed is if you don't very consciously hold on to them, day-to-day life, your cell phone, the internet, TV, job, family, kids, exercise routines, whatever it is, pulls you right back in, and then you wonder 6 months later, you have a sort of a twinkle in your eye about a great experience, some great stories, but the same old you is there, not the one that was present on that trip. And so that's really the dream, is that the big gift, and people here come on these trips, and all they do is give. And they give and they give and they give. And what we hope is that there's a little surprise waiting for them when they get home. And that's the person that they were on the trip.
A good idea written is better than a great idea dependent upon memory.
As it comes to great leaders, we don't learn about great leaders until after they've arrived. People don't start out as great leaders. And leaders become leaders by virtue of life experiences. And often those experiences are setbacks. Along the way of these SEAL team trips, we overcame a lot of setbacks. We had some personal breakthroughs, some amazing camaraderie, some amazing experiences. And those can come and go in the busyness of our minds. What we used to catalog them, to use Steve's words, was a journal. And I strongly encourage you to capture everything that's important to you, the positive things, the life lessons learned from the setbacks, the people in your life, their attributes, and what you need going forward in a journal. The mind is a terrible file cabinet. In life, we have a choice. We have two things. One is who you are, the gifts you have, who you're meant to be, what your potential is. And for many of us, we run the risk of being somebody we just wound up being by virtue of circumstances. To delineate between the two, who you are versus who you wound up being or who you might wind up being, requires deliberate, conscious choice of language, of thoughts, of internal programming. A journal can allow you to pull those experiences, pull those people, pull those memories, and those positive attributes about yourself and where you're trying to go into the forefront of your mind to continue to drive you towards your vision. My strong advice, taken from leaders like Steve Bilt, get yourself a journal and make all the difference in the world.
The way people define vision is disempowering. And they define vision as if you have to know what the end looks like. And if you have to know what the end looks like to get started, it's a real disservice in my opinion. To me, vision is, this is the direction I want to go, and I know in my heart, even if I can't articulate it, this is the direction I want to go. And then the notion is to go boldly in that direction. That's not to go blindly. That doesn't say step off a cliff. It says go boldly, which is to start. And the reason it's not to go blindly is you don't know exactly where it ends up. You can't put it on a rail and roll there. You have to adjust all along the way and keep making the changes to evolve that vision. Because the only thing I can guarantee you for sure is that vision will evolve. One of my favorite sayings, the first casualty of war is always the plan, right? And it's so true. You can set a vision and say, this is what I want to accomplish, where I want to go. And I can plan for it, but over planning for it rather than getting started, that's something else masquerading as preparation. It's not a great term probably. It's it's procrastination, it's fear, it's something else masquerading as preparation. Because to me, preparation is my heart, my spirit, my soul, whatever it is, knows it yearns for something. And I know that something's generally over in that direction. Well, get going in that direction. When you get going in that direction, stop, think. Each step you take is an opportunity to stop and think and correct course. And enlist other people around you in that vision for their feedback, for their experiences, for their ideas. And continue to evolve. But remember, it's your vision. It's your vision. You always have to own it. Never abdicate it. And abdicate little daily activities, but the vision is yours. You have to own it.
You know, as he talked about destination and where he wants to go, and perhaps it's not completely clear, my strong recommendation to you is to get as clear as you can possibly be. Now, one of the ways to do that is to understand what's in your heart, right, and what's in your head. To look at other models, perhaps reference points of other people who've done amazing things in their life, to sort of think about how they approached their vision. Third, I'd strongly encourage a support team. Put people around you that are willing to ask you questions that help you get a little bit more precise on your vision, but also ask them for help. Say, listen, this is where I'm trying to get to. I've never been here before. I'm not really sure how to get there, but I could use your help. You know, that's a sign of huge respect for people when you ask them for help. And along the way, they'll help you, as a matter of fact, as opposed to hurt you. Because what you really have to have is strong conviction and belief. Most people who've done amazing things in their life, when they originally had their idea, were told, hey, it'll never happen, right? The same people that told them that it would never happen, somewhere along the way said, you know something, I really knew you could do that. And people by people, it's conviction. It's not getting in your head and thinking about all the obstacles you have to overcome. It's thinking about with your heart. What are your gifts? What are you destined to do? What's your purpose? What's your passion? What are you supposed to do while you're here on this earth? While you have this dash, and you have to pursue it. Because if not, it leads to regret. And finally, you know, you might have this end destination. Steve has this end destination for the foundation. But as he said, 4 trips into this program, it looks completely different than when it started. And you know, 4 trips from now, it'll look different again. And it is about the journey, and that's where the dash is. What do you learn along the way? Who are the people that you meet? How do you become enriched, more fulfilled? How do you find out what you're best in the world at, what your ultimate gift is, to take that gift and give it away, to give it out into the world to make a fundamental difference? That will inspire people, that will inspire you, and that will make an amazing legacy.
Agreement and generosity, unless tempered by clear focus of vision, lead to ruin.
So if you listen to what we've discussed so far, it would be a reasonable question to ask you, to ask yourself, what are you famous for? What are you best in the world at? You know, each of us at Assembly at birth are given a couple of unique gifts. Now we're sent down to earth to try to understand what those gifts are, and once we recognize those gifts, our opportunity, or perhaps our responsibility, is to give those gifts away. It takes a lot of courage to use what we're gifted at, to do what we really believe we should do as opposed to what somebody else tells us that we should do. Now, stress is an interesting thing that happens to most of us in our life, and some of it's positive. But 2 things about stress that I'd like to touch on. One is stress often comes from not doing something we know we should do. Now, that may relate to using the gift that we have. Stress also comes from doing something we know we shouldn't. This requires focus, it requires specialization. So in this next piece, listen to Steve talk about specialization, talk about leverage, talk about understanding what your gift is, what you're truly best in the world at, and maximizing that gift for the best return on your personal investment, on your health, on your well-being, on your community, on your family, on your business. It has what he calls a multiplier effect. Listen to Steve at this point.
I talk about adjusting the vision and allowing people to help bring their energy and passion and even some of their alternatives to the vision. And I think that's true, but the other thing I say about it is that there's only one owner of that vision, and it has to be you. And so in my case, a fundamental tenet of my vision for both the Smiles for Everyone Foundation, but also for how the foundation can truly change the world, is that it's about specialization. And it's about each of us taking that gift that we were given and the one we actually chose to become the best at, and using that skill set to give back to the world. So in our case as a foundation, we don't actually deliver dental care around the world. We deliver we have a parent corporation or a sponsor corporation that delivers dental care around the United States. We have a resource base that's about delivering dental care. It's not about other things, and it's not to diminish or even say dental care is the primary need in the world, right? You could argue there's all kinds of medical needs, there's food, there's water, there's sanitation needs that are primary over dental. But we're not uniquely equipped to solve those problems. What we are uniquely equipped to at least make a dent in, and hopefully begin to make a big dent in, is the dental problem. And by specializing in that, the impact we make is much greater than the one we could ever make trying to go after problems we know nothing about. Hopefully what happens is by attacking these problems through specialization, we can encourage others to do the same. And all those other needs that may be primary above dental, other people have expertise in those. Other people can bring those skills to bear in that narrow area, which is exactly the way an economy is formed. And the economy is formed by a bunch of people specializing in things that go after all of the problems, but narrowly go after all the problems, not widely go after it by one group. What happens in charitable endeavors, and what I've been pushed to do in every situation we ever go into, is someone says, wow, you're here, you have a big heart, you care about our country, how about you help us with these other needs, whether that's education, water, sanitation, healthcare. There's not one of those things I name that my heart doesn't open up to, and I don't say, wow, those are big, arguably even bigger than dental, and I understand why you're asking about those. But my resources, whatever they are limited, and the expertise I have is even more limited. And so to go after a problem inside a narrow expertise, I can leverage it where $1 can go to work as $10, as $20, as $30. I go after an area where I don't have expertise, my dollar goes to work as 50 cents, as 75 cents, maybe 80 cents, but doesn't get a multiplier on it. That's the part of the vision that becomes what I'll call non-negotiable. So for me, the vision, the fundamental tenet, and that's the thing you have to know, what is the fundamental tenet of the vision? Because that's the one you're trying to enlist people in, the fundamental tenet, which is specializing to provide this care, and work with local people to carry on that work so it goes on in perpetuity. And then the third leg on the stool, if you will, is to hopefully encourage other people to give in their area of specialization. So if someone suggests to me, no matter who it is, even a king, suggests to me, we need you to help more broadly than your area of specialization, I have a very clear answer, which is no. But it's not no because I don't care. It's no because it's the only way I can make a true impact.
To me, one of the most powerful benefits of the show, Unopened Gifts, is the opportunity to take a hard look at ourselves. That's right. Who we are, perhaps versus who we wound up being. We learned from Steve to pursue a vision, it's not important to get it perfect, but to get it going. To surround yourself with a powerful support team, and to play life on the court, or in the dash, if you will, versus in the stands. Everything we learn should be captured. Put it in a journal. Use it as a reference point, as an anchor to serve you when life gets particularly difficult. You've got a gift. Ask yourself, what am I famous for? What am I best in the world at? There's an opportunity in my life to play to win, right? Versus play not to lose. When you play to win, it's an opportunity to live an amazing life, or like to say, a life well lived. Having been on several of these SEAL team trips, I saw some amazing transformations inside of people. And the 2 or 3 things that come to me from many people who gave me feedback was they focused on the fact that the obstacles they had in their life, the folks, the dentists, the people in these countries said, I recognize I'm my biggest obstacle. That the stories I have in my head are holding me back from doing the things that I'm capable of doing, from using my gift, to give my gift away, to make the most of the gift I've been giving. And for those people that are blessed with the gift of being a dentist, what I heard from many of them time and time again is, my career, my profession, perhaps has something to do with fixing teeth, but I have a fundamental opportunity to impact the world, not only the healthcare of the world, but human beings. I, as I lead myself, and I, as I set the example to help lead other people. I didn't recognize that until I went on one of these SEAL team trips. What a gift is that? So, everything in life is available to you. It's available to me, it's available to you, it's available to people around you. But the thing about it is, it's outside of our comfort zone. Most of us love to be in that center of the circle, right, where we're most comfortable. We get a little bit further outside of that circle, life gets a little bit more difficult. But growth comes outside of the comfort zone. I think the phrase is called growing pains for a pretty good reason, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at can change. And it has a lot to do with how you look at yourself and how you look at your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, and what you want to have in life. It's all a story in your head. It's the thoughts. It's managing those thoughts and managing the story. You know, in each of the programs that we're going to have here, you're going to meet some amazing people who perhaps seem to have a gift at birth to do amazing things, but anybody who's done anything significant, my life lesson has overcome some amazing obstacles and learned an enormous amount about themselves, about their opportunities, and what they were gifted with by the setbacks that they had. So tune in. You're going to meet people who've overcome amazing illnesses, financial hardships, family challenges, and difficulties that I won't tell you because I want you to tune in. You'll see for yourself. But these people who've done amazing things and become great leaders by what they learned on the setbacks along the way, and have now found that the gifts that they gave and gave away have led them to new gifts, new opportunities, new mountains that they want to share with you on this program. Thanks for tuning in.